Japanese earthquakes. My name is Charlie Haffey. I am an elementary science teacher for the Norwood Public Schools. Plate tectonics. Tectonic. It comes from the Latin word tectonicus. It also comes from the Greek word tectonikos. It means builder or building. The Earth's surface is broken into pieces. These pieces are called plates. The plates move very, very slowly, but they can produce enormous amounts of energy. Earth facts. Most volcanoes and earthquakes are located close to a plate boundary. Most volcanoes and earthquakes are located on the Ring of Fire. Here we have a map of the Pacific Ocean, and here is an outline of the largest plate in the Pacific Ocean, and that is called the Pacific Plate. To the east of the Pacific Plate, we have a smaller plate. To the north of that little plate is a third plate, and to the west of the Pacific Plate, between the Pacific Plate and Asia, we have another plate. And if you mapped out the location of all the major earthquakes and the major volcanoes that occur on these plate boundaries, you would see that they would occur on what we call the Ring of Fire. I have another map here that shows some of the names of the countries, and I have drawn in the Ring of Fire. And again, this is where most of the earthquakes and volcanoes in the Pacific Ocean occur. It's where most of the volcanoes and earthquakes on the planet Earth occur. And we're going to take a look at one country in particular. We're going to take a look at Japan, and the Ring of Fire goes right by Japan. So here I have a map that's a close-up of Japan, and you can see that there is South Korea, North Korea, China, and Russia are neighbors of Japan. If I eliminate all the text and put in map lines, then we will be able to map the locations of the major earthquakes for Japan. You should have this map in front of you right now, and if not, you can get it from my website. You also need to have this table that's called Japanese earthquakes. These are 10 of the largest earthquakes ever to hit Japan. I've rounded them off to make the explanation a little simpler. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at earthquake number 1. Earthquake number 1 has a latitude of 40 degrees north. It has a longitude of 144 degrees east. So let's go back to that map. And I'm going to just showcase or highlight those lines. So here is the 40 degree north line of latitude. Here is the 144 degree east line of longitude. And I'm just going to put an X where those two lines meet. Now you don't need to color in those lines. As a matter of fact, when you're done, it should look something like this. Let's go back to that table, and we're going to look for earthquake number 2. Earthquake number 2 has a latitude of 34 degrees north. It has a longitude of 138 degrees east. Back to the map. And again, I'm going to highlight these lines. You don't need to. But here is the 34 degree north line of latitude. And here is the 138-degree east line of longitude. And I'm going to put an X where the two lines meet. So after you're done with earthquake number 1 and earthquake number 2, your map should look like this. Now, it is your turn. Look at the table, Japanese earthquakes. Find earthquake number 3. Mark the location of earthquake number 3 on the map. Do the same for earthquake number 4 and earthquake number 5. Then bring the table and the map back to school. You'll do 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 with your teacher. The big picture. This is brought to you by the wonderful people at the University of Kentucky College of Arts and Sciences in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. And they have this really neat little thing to look at. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go to their website, and they have this plate tectonics module. So I'm going to go here to maps. And this gives you here a little description of what's going on. But I'm going to click off this. And you see here is a map of the world. And up here, they tell you that it's a color relief map. That's not bad. Here is a gray relief map. And I don't like that very much at all. But this one over here shows you the continents. I like this one the best. It's just my personal preference. Then I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my little page and go to boundaries. And here you can see all the tectonic plate boundaries on the planet Earth. If I come over here to earthquakes and I click on this, it's going to show you that indeed most of the earthquakes on the planet Earth occur near a plate boundary. Now let me click off that for a moment. If I come over here and click on volcanoes, we haven't really talked much about volcanoes. But if I click on the button for volcanoes, you're going to see that most of the Earth's active volcanoes are on plate boundaries. And if I do volcanoes and earthquakes, you can see that most of the volcanoes and earthquakes on the planet Earth occur near plate boundaries. So what can we learn from all this? Most earthquakes are located near tectonic plate boundaries. Most volcanoes are located near tectonic plate boundaries. This has been Japanese earthquakes. My name is Charlie Haffey. I am an elementary science teacher for the Norwood Public Schools.